Now, the one role you have to have in your business, and one of your leadership traits, that you better become really good at it. I think it's almost number one, apart from building the relation between yourself and others, and that intuitive gut feeling of when to know what. I think this one, the trait of becoming a great facilitator, is really key to our success in business today, more than almost anything else. So yes, maybe a few pointers for you to become a great facilitator. Number one, it is using your intuitive, almost feeling of when is a good time for you to fall back on process and utilize process as that lifesaver. It's all about timing. It's very important. A second aspect to consider is the fact that I believe that work always gets done between meetings, or really gets done between meetings, pre and post, but not in meetings. Why? Because in meetings you are not that creative, it's not spontaneous, it's often a fight for territory and 1,000 other things. So again, it's time out, when to go outside of that meeting and then resolve the issue and come back for better decision making. Maybe a third guiding point is, it's never about the person or the people. It's because of their differences or perceived differences. It is about the issue. It is about bringing that clarity and understanding of what is the real issue here. What is at the root cause of it? It is providing, in the end, direction and guidelines on how to go forward. That roadmap, that's your role. And it's also about underpinning some of the core principles of running a great business. That is why, any process we do when we facilitate is actually a great opportunity to make the business stronger, and in terms of principles and how we guide people to actually work going forward. And then, very important, I think, in facilitation is your attitude. You are here as a facilitator leader because of that positive attitude, which means what? You want to help, you want to unlock, you want to go forward, you want to serve. And that is why you choose to engage in a network of alliances when you try to resolve a problem. That's why it's so important to have the right people in the room when you try to resolve a problem or an issue, or maybe deal with a particular conflict. So, allow me to give you a few basic tips. I'm just going to touch on them, but try to make a distinction between the process and then the content. As the traffic cop, the facilitator, you hold the container, not so much the content. That is why a good facilitator doesn't need to be in control of the content and be able to judge it as good or bad. The great facilitator is aware of what happens in the container between people, and what is said and how it is said, how it is interpreted, where's the gaps, what information was not shared, and you manage the energy in that container. Second, you are the guardian of the values and the ground rules. Nobody else is going to look after it like you. And for that reason, you can always apply the principle of gatekeeping. In other words, you ask somebody else on your behalf almost to observe what's going on in the team. Look at the body language. Maybe I missed somebody. Maybe somebody wanted to say something and I ignored that individual, later not to come back. That would be a huge mistake. And then the gatekeeper can guide me also as facilitator to stay on track. If ever there was a time and a space for anybody to ask questions and to listen, it is when you take up the role of facilitator. Just think of it. You listen for understanding, you listen for what other people are missing, but then you also come in, with some good guidance by asking the real or the obvious questions for clarity and understanding. And then it is your privilege to unlock and open up different pathways, different alternatives, get some creative ideas on the table. Make sure that you've covered this base wide enough so later on you can consolidate and it becomes one conversation again. And ultimately, you've got the responsibility as facilitator to make the final decision on what was agreed. How do we go forward? What will be the next steps? How will we get feedback? You become an integrator of both process and content. If you guide people to go forward differently, you obviously want to be impartial. You work towards the best possible solution or result. You make sure that everybody's heard. That's your job. Remember, in your team, you've got movers and opposers and listeners and bystanders. You've got people that might disrupt any conversation easy. It is your job to make sure that everybody's heard to their satisfaction, not yours. You are also in charge, therefore, of time and how it's utilized, the effectiveness of the group. And you've got a mandate to facilitate that. And then very important, I think, maybe the most important, is to come up with a summary of what was decided. And if we now go forward, what will happen next? Who will be responsible for it? When will it happen? And how will we ensure that we stay on track? I'm going to stop there because there's more to this. But I want you to become aware of the fact that, conversations don't just happen by themselves. And the good conversations, the better ones, are because of our ability to actually facilitate that and to be so good at it that it's most probably the number one trait you can have as a leader today in running a great business.